Hello, today is Thursday, January 29th, 2026, Anno Domini. We're on Genesis 36, and I hope you have a great day. I hope you learn. Honestly, of course, this is all for me, but of course, I want to share the good news in the best possible way of how I have studied and how I am studying the evolution of my awareness and what I've learned, and then I want to learn from other people, their experience of life. But of course, it's been incredible, exciting 2 years of trying to read the Bible, trying to catch up. And this lady who gave me a little pamphlet that got me questioning him, trying to go to the U of R to prove God to the world, but I don't want to read the scriptures when I'm doing nothing at all. Why am I not interested at all in scriptures, right? And then I loved everything except for read this daily, for man must not live by bread alone, but by every word of the God. I'm like, bro, you just took Jesus's words and you're like twisting it and you're like trying to force your agenda on it. Well, no, they weren't trying to force, they were just encouraging. Of course, if you want to stay healthy, you have good food every day, right? But anyways, that was what was in my mind when I went to talk to my father, the church father, Timon, right down the street. And he goes, don't worry about reading the whole scriptures. I'm like, are you kidding me, bro? Jesus tells us you must not live by bread alone, but by every, it's actually written, word that comes out of the mouth of God. And you're going to tell me I shouldn't be worried about reading the whole scripture. So I'm literally standing it strong, trying not to waste a second. I have 29,500 seconds of standing there and reading. And so I'm trying to maximize every second. And it took a year, and then I realized, oh, he's saying don't worry, because it's a blessing anytime you can, and God has everything organized perfectly in his time. So anyways, Father, please help us to make the most of this reading. Please help me to work on my pronunciation and my presence and my appreciation and my love for you and all men. With all of my heart, how you love us, all of my soul, all of my mind, all of my strength, as I love myself. Genesis 36. This is the line of Esau, that is Edom. Esau took his wives from among the Canaanite women, Adah, daughter of Elon, and the Hittite, and Omadabah, daughter of Anah, daughter of Zaban, the Hivite, and also Basemath, daughter of Ishmael, sister of Nobiath. Adah bore to Esau Eliphaz. Basemath bore Ruel, and Olabach bore Jashu, Jalam, and Korah. These were the sons of Esau, who were born to him in the land of Canaan. Esau took his wives and his sons and daughters and all the members of his household, and his cattle and all the livestock and all the property that he had acquired in the land of Canaan, and went to another land because of his brother Jacob. For their possessions were too many for them to dwell together, and the land where they journeyed could not support them because of their livestock. So Esau settled in the hill country of Seir, Esau being Edom. This, then, is the line of Esau, the ancestor of the Edomites in the hill country of Seir. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz, son of Esau's wife Adah; Ruel, son of Esau's wife Basemath, son of Eplis; were Taman, Amor, Zavan, Gatam, Kineth. Timnah was a concubine of Esau's son Eliphaz. She bore Amalek to Eliphaz, whose were the descendants of Esau's wife Adah. So at first I used to absolutely hate, annoying, a waste of time to read these names. Now I'm blessed, thankful, trying to remember, oh yeah, I'm just one of billions of God's children. Literally right now we are. But in the past, of course, he loved all of his kids, and he's always going to love all of his kids with all of his heart forever. Now, I've been thinking a lot, because I'm going to have a conversation with my youth pastor and try to start the ball rolling of sharing the good news that God loves all equally. But Jesus says, of course, as the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Remain in my love. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commands and remain in his love. So, yes, we can grow in respect and honor and appreciation. These are just words. Please don't judge me too much, but esteem is a word that the scripture uses, that Samuel grew in, and Jesus, I believe, and with God and man, and of course everyone wants that, right? But that's the blessing, one of the many blessings of God, but like probably the biggest blessing is to as many as believe, of course. To as many as believe, to them gave he the power. So to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name. Yeah, so obviously, does God love everyone equally? Yes, he does, but of course, he loves us equally in what's the best possible way to love us. Because if we're not loving, if we're not doing the right thing, how loving would that be for God to keep us, remain us in his love, right? And now think about it, because his love is eternal, everlasting, doesn't change. But of course, we change on a daily, moment by moment basis. So if we want to remain, Father, in the name of Jesus, please help us to keep your commands and to keep your word and to love you with all of our heart, not honoring you with our lips and our hearts far from you. But please help us to be one with you and Jesus. Okay. Anyways, and these were the sons of Ruel, and Nephath of Zorah, the Shemach, and Mezrah. These were the descendants of Esau's wife, Basemath, and these were the sons of Esau's wife, Alabach, daughter of Anach, daughter of Zaban. She bore to Esau Jashu, Jalam, and Koros. These are the clans of the children of Esau, the descendants of Esau's firstborn, Apelaz. The clans Taman and Amor, Zaphan, Kanzah, Korah, Gatam, and Amlach. These are the clans of Apelaz in the land of Edom. These are the descendants of Edah. These are the descendants of Esau's sons Ruel, and clans Nahal, Zerah, Shema, Mizrah. These are the clans of Ruel in the land of Edom. These are the descendants of Esau's wife, Basemath, and these are the descendants of Esau's wife, Anahalbach, and the clans Jashuach, Jalam, Korath. These are the clans of Esau's wife, Anahalbach, daughter of Anach. These are the sons of Esau, that is, Edom. These are their clans. These were the sons of Sor and the Hittite, who were settled in Latan, Shabal, Zaban, Enach, Dashach, Azor, Dishin. These are the clans of the Hittites, the descendants of Seir, in the land of Edom. These are sons of Latan, were Har and Haman. Latan's sisters was Timnah. The sons of Shabach were these: Elavan, Mahashan, Ebel, Shaphoch, and Anam. These are sons of Zaban. The sons of Zaban were these: Anach. These are Anach, discovers the hot springs in the wilderness, while pasturing the areas of his father Zaban. The children of Anah were these: Dishan, Anah's daughter, Abdah. The sons of Dishan were these: Haram, Ashban, Athran, and Shoran. The sons of Azor were these: Belach, Zavan, Achan. The sons of Dishan were these: Uz and Aaron. These are the clans of the Hittites, and the clans of Latan, Shabul, Zaban, Anach, Dishan, Azor, and Dishan. These are the clans of the Herites, clan by clan, in their land of Sor. These are the kings who reigned in the land of Edom, before any king reigned over the Israelites. Bela, son of Bora, reigned in Edom, and the name of the city was Dinahabach. Where Bela died, Jabab, son of Zorah, from Bezran, succeeded him as a king. When Jabab died, Hashan, in the land of the Tamanites, succeeded him as king. When Hashan died, Hadad, son of Bedad, who defeated the Midianites, in the country of Moab, succeeded him as king. The name of the city was Avach. When Hadad died, Shemach of Mezrach succeeded him as king. When Samlach died, Saul of Robith on the river succeeded him as king. When Saul died, Belhanah, son of Ashabor, succeeded him as king. When Ben-Hanah, son of Ashabor, died, Hadar succeeded him as king. The name of his city was Pa, and his wife's name was Mahabadil, daughter of Mitrid, daughter of Mizah. These are names of the clans of Esau, each with his families and localities, name by name. The clans Timnah, Avlah, Jaklath, Ahabach, Alach, Pilach, Tamach, Mizrah, Migdad, Adon. These are the clans of Edom, that is of Esau, father of the Edomites, by their settlements in land when they held. Now Jacob was settled in land where his father had sojourned in the land of Canaan. This is then the land of Jacob. At 17 years of age, Joseph tended the flocks with his brother as a helper to the sons of his wives, Bilhah and Zipporah. And Joseph brought bad reports of them to their father. Now Israel loved Joseph best of all his sons, for he was the children of his old age, and he had made him an ornamented tunic. And when his brothers saw that his father loved him more than any of his brothers, they hated him so that they could not speak. They hated him so that they could not speak a friendly word to him. Once Joseph had a dream, which he told his brothers, and they hated him even more. He said to them, "Hear this dream, which I dreamed. There we were binding sheaves in the field, when suddenly my sheaf stood up and remained upright. Then your sheaves gathered around and bowed low to my staff." His brothers answered, "Do you mean to reign over us? Do you mean to rule us?" And they hated him even more for his talk about his dreams. He dreamed another dream and told to his brothers, saying, "Look, I've had another dream. And this time the sun and the moon and the 11 stars were bowing down to me." And when he told this to his father and his brothers, his father berated him and said, "What?" He said to him, "Is this dream you have dreamed? Are we to come, I and your mother and your brothers, and bow low to you to the ground?" So his brothers were brought up at him, and his father kept the mind and matter. I see how you flipped that because I jumped to the part that I was interested in and what I was going to do. One time, when his brothers had gone to pasture their father's flock at Shechem, Israel said to Joseph, "Your brothers are pasturing at Shechem. Come, I will send them to you." He answered, "I am ready." And he said to him, "Go and see how your brothers are and how the flocks are faring, and bring me back word." So he sent him from the valley of Hebron. When he reached Shechem, a man came upon him, wandering in the fields. The man asked him, "What are you looking for?" He answered, "I am looking for my brothers. Can you tell me where they are pasturing?" The man said, "They have gone from here, for I heard them say, 'Let us go to Dathan.'" So Joseph followed his brothers and found them at Dathan. He saw him from afar, and before he came close to him, he conspired to kill him. They said to one another, "Here comes that dreamer. Come now, let us kill him and throw him into one of the pits, and we can say, 'A savage beast devoured him.' We can say what comes out of his dreams." But when Reuben heard it, he tried to save him from that. He said, "Let us not take his life." And Reuben went on and shed no blood. Cast him into that pit in the wilderness. Do not touch him yourselves, intending to save him from them and restore him to his father. When Joseph came up to his brothers, they stripped Joseph of his tunic, the ornamented tunic that he was wearing, and took him and cast him into that pit. The pit was empty, there was no water in it. Then they sat down to meal. Looking up, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead, their camels bearing gum, balm, and ledum, to be taken to Egypt. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "What did we gain by killing our brother and covering up his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, but let us not do away with him ourselves. After all, he is our brother with our own flesh." His brothers agreed. When the Midianite traders passed by, they pulled Joseph up out of the pit. They sold Joseph for 20 pieces of silver to the Ishmaelites who brought Joseph to Egypt. When Reuben returned to the pit and saw that Joseph was not in the pit, he rent his clothes. Returning to his brothers, he said, "The boy is gone now. What am I to do?" Then they took Joseph's tunic, slaughtered a kid, and dipped in the tunic in the blood. They had ornamented the tunic taken to their father, and they said, "We found this. Please examine it. Is it your son's tunic?" He recognized it and said, "My son's tunic. A savage beast devoured him." Joseph was torn by a beast. Jacob rent his clothes, put sackcloth on his loins, and observed mourning for his son many days. All his sons and daughters sought to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted, saying, "No, I will go down mourning to my soul in hell in Sheol." Thus his father bewailed him. It was beautiful yesterday. I was reading in the Dhammapada. I think it was Buddha saying it's not wise I think this is the Gita, Bhagavad Gita. It's not wise to mourn for the dead or the living. It's not beneficial, but it is a blessing. We are going to be comforted when we mourn. But the Gita is a good point. I mean, you're not helping the situation. I mean, if you're mourning, it can help set you a little more straight and think about the right thing in the long run, for sure. But it's not wise to be in a continuous state of mourning. I don't want to make a bad judgment, but like I just constantly berate all the time people I know passing away and stuff. And it's like, wait a second, they're in a better place. We're here for a good reason, and we have a very limited amount of time, so let's make the most of it, right? No, I will go down mourning to my son in Sheol. Thus his father bewailed him. The Midianites, meanwhile, sold him to an Egyptian Potiphar, a courtier of Pharaoh, his chief steward. About that time, Judah left his brothers and camped near a certain Elamanite, whose name was Haran. There Judah saw the daughter of a certain Canaanite whose name was Shoah, and he married her and cohabitated with her. He conceived and bore a son, and he named him Er. She conceived again and bore a son, and named him Anan. Once again she bore a son, and named him Shalach. He went to Chisbin when she bore him. Judah got a wife from Er, his firstborn. Her name was Tamar. But Er, Judah's firstborn, was displeasing to Yahweh, and Yahweh took his life. I said in that video, there are no mistakes in life, period. It's so cool. You don't think about it too much, but once you do, it's very clear. If God didn't want you here, you wouldn't be here. He could literally give you a heart attack, or there doesn't have to be a scientific reason. He could just allow your consciousness just to stop. But scientifically, I guess, I don't know. Then Judah said to Anna, "Join with your brother's wife and do your duty by her as a brother-in-law, and provide offspring of your brother. But Anna, knowing that the seed would not count on his, let it go to waste. Whenever he joined with his brother's wife, so not to provide offspring for his brothers. What he did was displeasing to Yahweh, and he took his life also. Then Judah said to his daughter-in-law Tamar, 'Stay as a widow in your father's house until my son Shalach grows up.' For he thought, he too might die like his brothers. So Tamar went to live in his father's house. A long time afterward, Shah's daughter, the wife of Judah, died. Then his period of mourning was over. Judah went up to Timnah, to his sheep shearers, together with his father Haran, the Elamanite. And Tamar was told, 'Your father-in-law is coming up to Timnah for the sheep shearing.' She took off her widow's garb, covered her face with a veil, and wrapped herself up, sat down at the entrance of Enam, which is on the road to Timnah, for she saw that Shelah was growing up, yet she had not been given to him as a wife. When Judah saw her, he took her for a harlot, for she had covered her face. So he turned aside to her by the road and said, 'Here, let me sleep with you,' for he did not know that she was his daughter-in-law. 'What?' she asked. 'Will you pay for sleeping with me?' He replied, 'I will send a kid from my flock.' But she said, 'You must leave a pledge until you have sent it.' And he said, 'What pledge shall I give you?' She replied, 'Your seal and cord and the staff which you carry.' So he gave them to her, and she slept. and slept with her, and she conceived by him. Then she went on her way. She took off her veil and again put on her widow's garb. Judah sent the kid by his friend to Elimelite, to the Elimelite, to redeem the pledge from the woman, but he could not find her. He inquired of the people of that town, "Where is the cult prostitute?" The one at Edom by the road. But they said, "There has not been a prostitute here." So he returned to Judah and said, "I could not find her." Moreover, the townspeople said, "There has not been a prostitute here." Judah said, "Let her keep them, lest we become a laughingstock. I did not send this kid, but you did not find her. I did not send her, this kid, but did you not find her?" About 3 months later, Judah was told, "Your daughter-in-law Tamar has played the harlot. In fact, she is with child by harlotry." "Bring her out," said Judah, "and let her be burned." As she was being brought out, she sent a message to her father-in-law, "I am with child by a man to whom these belong." Whew. And she added, "Examine these, whose seal and cord and staff are these?" Judah recognized them and said, "She is more in the right than I, inasmuch as I did not give her to my son Shelah, and she was not intimate, and he was not intimate with her." When the time came for her to give birth, there was twins in her room. While she was in labor, one of them put out his hand, and the midwife tied a crimson thread at that hand to signify this one came out first. But just then he drew back his hand, and out came his brother. And she said, "What a breach you have made for yourself." So he was named Perez. Afterward his brother came out, and whose hand was the crimson thread. His name was Zerah. When Joseph was taken down to Egypt, a certain Egyptian Potiphar, a courtier of Pharaoh, and his chief steward brought him from the Ishmaelites who had brought him there. Yahweh was with Joseph. He was a successful man, and he stayed in the house of his Egyptian master. And when his master saw that Yahweh was with him and that Yahweh lent success to everything he undertook, he took a liking to Joseph. He made him his personal attendant and put him in charge of his household, placing in his hands all that he owned. And from the time that the Egyptian put him in charge of the household and of all that he owned, Yahweh blessed his house for Joseph's sake, so that the blessing of Yahweh was upon everything that he owned, in the house and outside. He left all that he had in Joseph's hands with him there. He paid attention to nothing, save the food he ate. Now Joseph was well built and handsome. After a time, his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph and said, "Lie with me." But he refused. He said to his master's wife, "Look with me here. My master gives no thought to anything in this house, and all he owns he has placed in my hands. He wields no more authority in this house than I, and he has withheld nothing, 10%, from me except yourself, since you are his wife. How then could I do this most wicked thing and sin before Elohim, our perfectly loving, forming Father?" And much as she coaxed Joseph day after day, he did not yield to her request to lie beside her, to be with her. On one such day, he came into the house to do his work, none of the household being there inside. She caught hold of him by his garment and said, "Lie with me." But he left his garment in her hand and got away and fled outside. When she saw that he had left it in her hand and fled outside, she called out to her servants and said to them, "Look, he had to bring us a Hebrew to dally with us. This one came to lie with me." But I screamed aloud. And when he heard me screaming at the top of my voice, he left his garment with me and got away and fled outside. She kept his garment beside her until his master came home. Then she told him the same story, saying, "The Hebrew slave whom you brought into our house came to me to dally with me. But when I screamed at the top of my voice, he left his garment with me and fled outside. When his master heard the story that his wife told him, namely, thus and so your slave did to me, he was furious. So Joseph's master had him put in prison, where the king's prisoners were confined. But even while he was there in prison, Yahweh was with Joseph. He extended kindness to him and disposed the chief jailer favorably toward him. The chief jailer put in Joseph's charge all the prisoners who were in that prison, and he was the one to carry out everything that was done there. The chief jailer did not supervise anything that was in Joseph's charge because Yahweh was with him. And whatever he did, Yahweh made successful. All right, just one more chapter. Lord willing, I'll finish before my phone dies. Sometime later, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt gave offense to the Lord, the king of Egypt. Pharaoh was angry with his two courtiers, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, and put them in custody in the house of the chief steward, in the same prison house where Joseph was confined. The chief steward assigned Joseph to them, and he attended them. When they had been in custody for some time, both of them, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were confined in the prison, dreamed in the same night, each his own dream, and each dream with his own meaning. When Joseph came to them in the morning, he saw that they were distraught. He asked Pharaoh's courtiers, who were with him in custody in his master's house, saying, "Why do you appear downcast today?" And they said to him, "We had dreams, and there was no one to interpret them." So Joseph said to them, "Surely God can interpret. Tell me your dreams." Then the chief cupbearer told his dream to Joseph. He said to him, "In my dream, there was a vine in front of me. On the vine there were 3 branches. It had a barley budded. When out came its blossoms, and its clusters ripped into grapes. Pharaoh's cup was in his hand. I took the grapes, pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand." Joseph said to him, "This is its interpretation. The 3 branches are 3 days. In 3 days, Pharaoh will pardon you and restore you to your post. You will place Pharaoh's cup in his hand, as was your custom formerly when you were his cupbearer. But think of me when all is well with you again, and do me the kindness of mentioning me to Pharaoh, so as to free me from this place. For in truth, I was kidnapped from the land of the Hebrews, nor have I done anything here that they should have put me in the dungeon." When the chief baker saw how favorably he had interpreted, he said to Joseph, "In my dream similarly, there were 3 upward baskets on my head." I shouldn't be laughing, but it's just Yeah, but thank God, I believe, of course, God loves the cupbearer and the baker the same. Just because the Pharaoh just had the inclination to just fucking kill the cupbearer. Sorry for the swearing. Am I sorry, though? If I'm to honor God with my lips, my heart's not far from him. Lord, I mean, no one wants to swear in front of kids because it's stupid. It's pointless. You're just really, dude? That's judgment. I hope it's a righteous judgment. I don't want to negatively call anyone down, but of course, when you're scrolling through TikToks and you see the kids or the parents recording their kids swearing, and they think it's so funny and cute, and it's funny, but it's not cute because it's that's what you want your kids to be putting in their minds and then getting attention for it. You know what I mean? When the cupbearer saw how favorably he had interpreted, not sorry for the voice crack, in my dream similar, there were 3 upward baskets on my head. In the uppermost basket were all kinds of food for Pharaoh that a baker prepares, and the birds were eating it out of the basket above my head. Joseph answered, This is its interpretation. The 3 baskets are 3 days. In 3 days, Pharaoh will lift off your head and impale you upon a pail, and the birds will pick off your flesh. On the 3rd day, his birthday, Pharaoh made a banquet for all his officials, and he singled out his chief cupbearer and his chief baker from among his officials. He restored the cupbearer to his cupbearing, and he placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand. But the chief baker he impaled just as Joseph had interpreted to them. Yet the chief cupbearer did not think of Joseph. He forgot him. I love DMX's prayer when he goes, doing so good that I didn't think of you. I don't. And then, but wait a second, does God want us to not think of us, to not think of him because we should be focusing on thinking of loving those around us? I don't know. It's all one because God is literally, constantly, always giving us the experience of life. So it's never a bad idea to be thankful, I don't think. But I hope that was as fun as it was for me. I hope you have a very blessed day. Take care and love you. See you tomorrow, Lord willing.